Startup Grind. We are hosting a wonderful, I consider a friend to all, a friend of mine, Terri Lubaroff. And Terri Lubaroff is one of the founding executives of Legionella. Legionella is the first fan-owned entertainment company in the world. Awesome. In the world. In the world about so what is, I love bringing out the gems, right? When you have the unsung heroes, right? The behind the scenes that make everyone, makes everyone work and gets the business going. And so I decided to say, Terri, I'm pulling you out for this because you are one of my favorite gems. So let's introduce. I'd like to introduce Terri Lubaroff, producer. Come on in. Hi. Hi. So welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you. I love this.
You love that? Oh,
it's awesome.
Here, it has this crackling sound. I don't want you to get burned.
That is.
It's pretty cool.
Let me see.
I might put that on my TV at home and pretend that my fireplace actually works.
I know. Well, here's people actually use it during holiday season is what I.
I was actually in an open house because I'm a looky-loo. I like to go into open houses as a hobby, and they had a big TV with a fireplace on last week.
Oh, really?
I actually looked it up on YouTube so I could do it.
4 hours. 4 hours of this. This is like.
It works.
Yeah,
it makes
really
you feel hot.
Can you feel the heat?
I actually may need to cool it down.
Here's your water, dear.
Need a sip.
No, that's so funny is that these monitors do put out so much heat now.
Yeah, I feel it. It's like it's not a placebo effect. It really is.
Now I just need the bright light and just to turn off the lights. You're like, oh, it's a 3rd degree. Burn. So anyway, Terri.
Aaron.
Yes, Terri.
Yes. I have to tell you something though.
What's that?
My last name is really difficult.
Okay.
So it's pronounced Lubaroff.
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 Rhymes with nothing else in the world. It's like orange. It's a hard one.
That's good.
So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Could I just call you Terri?
Yes.
I never have to call her by her last name.
Never. Never.
Okay, so I'm gonna stick with Terri.
Okay.
Hey T.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, I go right T. I like that. That's what my parents call me.
Okay.
Hey you.
So let's see how we start. How we're gonna start this off is basically we're just gonna start from the beginning.
All right.
Okay. Start from this. Tell us from the beginning.
What's light?
Yes. Where are you from originally?
I'm from Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from. Okay, so there's a garbage can in the background, which is
that's production cost. That's production cost.
I put those sound effects in ahead of time instead of in post. So I'm from a little town called East Liverpool, Ohio. It's in the Appalachian foothills in the Ohio Valley in the middle of the Rust Belt. Tiny, tiny little town. Nothing happens there ever. Well, that's not true. In high school, our high school won a contest, and we had the Jets come sing at our high school, and that was amazing.
Wow, the Jets.
Yeah.
Remember the Jets?
Do you remember the Jets? I'm dating myself. Yeah, so it's a really small town. It's very rural, and I grew up in a house that was on a piece of property that was my great-grandfather's farm, and that's where I'm from.
Okay, so you start off with a farm. Sounds like
it wasn't really a farm. It used to be a farm.
Well,
we had a lot of animals there.
What's cool is that obviously Kansas and Ohio are two different things.
Right.
But starting off, in a small rural area, and then all of a sudden you're in the magic of Hollywood, right? You have, you're like, oh, you were there and you were there. Right. So where did it come from deciding from being a lawyer to? What happened?
So I was never a lawyer first.
Okay.
So in my mind,
okay,
I am Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
I saw Jaws when I was 2 years old at a drive-in movie theater. My parents had this green station wagon with the wood paneled sides, right? And there's nothing to do where I grew up except for go to the movies. And there was a drive-in, and it was always a double feature. The first movie was for kids, and the second movie was for adults. Snow White Jaws. Natural fit.
Right, makes sense.
So my parents would lay down the seats in the back of the station wagon and put my sister and I in sleeping bags and say, okay, Snow White is over, go to bed. And little did they know that I was like, I'm not going to bed. There's a big shark on the screen. Maybe I was 2.5, because I remember it really well. I haven't been in the ocean since.
Oh, really?
But it profoundly affected me. From that day forward, my parents say since I was 2 years old, I've said I wanted to work in Hollywood and be in entertainment. And being a lawyer was just one stop along the way as a resume line.
Okay.
And I was never
so where did, okay, so before being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Right? So what happened? what was there?
That's so weird.
From 2.5 to...
I have only recently practiced law.
Okay.
For the first time, it was in my late 30s when I said, oh, I'm going to practice law for a little while and see how that goes. Oh my gosh, I just dated myself again. Never telling my real age. I've been in entertainment my whole adult life. I studied acting and directing in college. I worked as an actress. I did an independent film. I worked on an ABC Family film. I did a lot of theater. I produced live events very successfully in Florida. I went to the University of Florida for college. And very long story short, I was graduating early from college and I wanted to produce this live event at the University of Florida, but you had to be a full-time student. And I was told by the board of this organization, you've been chosen as the first female producer of this event ever. Congratulations, it's a big deal. And then my counselor saying, by the way, you're graduating in 6 weeks. And I was like, no, that's not working for me. What do I do? And my dad said, hey, why don't you go to law school? You could use an extra resume line. You're only a 5-foot-tall blonde. At the time I was blonde. Blonde person, and it'll get you more jobs. So I was like, that's a good idea, and that's why I went to law school.
Okay, so did you do like straight litigation,
Never.
Public defender?
I never practiced law.
Right.
I graduated from law school. I took the Florida bar.
Okay.
The day after I took the Florida bar, I packed up my little red Honda Accord with my mom, who was driving across the country with me, and my cat, and moved to LA with no job. 2 weeks later, I was working as an assistant at ICM, which is a huge talent agency,
okay.
On a motion picture literary desk. And our clients were Spike Lee and Francis Ford Coppola, and I covered DreamWorks and Paramount, and it was amazing. And that's been my career. I've been an agent and a manager, and I've been in development, and I've been a producer and a writer my entire career except for the last 5 years.
Wow.
So
you've done, tell me about the whole agent, what was the ups and downs with that?
Well, when you start in entertainment, you start at the bottom, right? So I have a law degree. I worked very, very hard and moved to LA and got a job that paid essentially $300 a week, and you worked 70 hours a week.
Right.
My boss was the most amazing woman. She was a Harvard-educated lawyer who worked on Wall Street, who gave it all up to come be in entertainment. Mm-hmm. And she would only ever have an assistant work for her on her desk. And when you're an assistant, when you work on a desk at a talent agency, you listen to your boss's phone calls, you learn the vernacular and you learn how to do things. She was very tough on me because I think she knew that I was straight off the bus. Oh. Like literally straight. I knew that. So my first day of work, I had the headset on and I have a suit and I'm like, oh, I am so cool. And I had a big smile, and the agent, she was here, her office was here, and I was outside her office in a cubicle, and the agent next to her called, can I curse?
No.
I'm gonna bleep. I'll bleep myself. The agent next to her called her through me, even though he was right next door to her, knowing that I was listening to the call, because that's what you do when you're an assistant at an agency, and said, tell your bleeping assistant to wipe that bleeping smile off her bleeping face before I smack her.
Oh, wow.
And that was my introduction to the entertainment industry.
And welcome to Hollywood, folks.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm still friends with both agents. So it all turned out okay. It was all good.
Okay, so you have a list of things. I mean, when we promoted, you're an attorney, you're a writer, you're a producer, you're an executive, and this thing. So how did I'm going to go a little forward, how did you get into the tech startup part of it?
So after, I've been on this startup side of things since 1999, which is kind of the first round of startups. I was working at ICM, and one of our clients hired me to go run his independent production company. And through that work, I had a friend, and we had an idea to do choose your own adventure. Like the internet was just starting. People, like the bandwidth was flash animation. I mean, you waited for 20 minutes for something to download, and it was awesome.
28.8, I think that's what it was at the time.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge comic book nerd, and I go to Comic-Cons, and I love sci-fi, and my buddy and I had bonded, and this is the person who introduced me to my husband, by the way.
Oh, I was going to
And
get there.
we had bonded and said, wouldn't it be great if we could do Choose Your Own Adventure series online? And so we started a startup, and he was doing development at the time for Chris O'Donnell, who was in Batman and Robin.
Okay.
So we were housed on the Warner Brothers lot, and Chris kind of bankrolled us, and then my company that I was working for had a stake in that also. And we started a startup. We acquired a library of hundreds of comic books, and we were going to use flash animation and charge a subscription fee, and we were way ahead of our time because it never worked. The bandwidth was just not there yet, and as we were going out for our big round of financing, we had huge people on our board of advisors, like huge movie stars, because Chris would make calls for us. I mean, we met with Michael Douglas, we were meeting with Arnold Schwarzenegger, it was amazing. And then the bubble burst.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, I remember.
And very quickly we were like, okay, do we see this as being a viable business in the next 6 months? And we weren't even really sure that it could be monetized at the time. And so we closed up and moved on. He went on to Xbox, by the way, and used some of the same model that we were talking about with their stuff. So it was a successful model. We were just too early.
Okay,
So that was my introduction to startups.
Okay, so
a complete failure.
Welcome to the startup way. I mean that's
You gotta try, right?
Exactly, and that's the whole point. The thing is that people think startups are it's brand new or something that it's not brand new. All mom and pops are technically startups, right?
Yeah.
And so people need to kind of have exactly. So it's not some new fan base thing. So let's see. So failure, 2.5. Right? You met your husband.
That was not a failure.
No. Which is great.
Depends what night it is.
I'll bleep that one out for you.
Love you. I think he's watching.
I know, you're Facebooking like this, are we? Thanks. Okay, so. Okay, so.
I just threw Aaron off track.
You did.
How did
I love your husband. He's a great guy.
I know, he is.
So anyway,
He's awesome.
He is a great guy. So now you have this. You're entertainment, and you've got this whole technical side because now you have another notch on the belt, right? And you meet your husband, and you're having this flourishing family as you continue to go on this grind.
Yeah, I mean,
So
eventually, as I met my husband. We got married right before 9/11. We were on our honeymoon in Hawaii when 9/11 happened, and I was still running this independent production company. And we had put out one movie. We had a bunch of other films in development. Some with some writers who now are huge Emmy-winning, award-winning writers, which I'm really proud to have worked with these people and found them and discovered them. But my boss, this was kind of a vanity thing for him, and he was a defense contractor. And 9/11 happened, and literally, I think 24 hours it happened. He called, tracked me down on my honeymoon and called and said, I'm going to close. I have other more important things to do than movies. So I had to kind of figure out where I was going to go next. And I had only worked in features. And I love feature films, but I really love TV. The business of TV is an easier business. And if you're good at it, you can sell things quickly, and they can get made quickly, and you can get paid quickly. And I thought, that sounds good. So I kind of started over. I went from being the president of an independent production company that was pretty well financed, that had done movies, and we had a lot in development, to being an assistant again at a boutique TV agency that had some of the best showrunners in the world as clients. And I did that because I wanted to learn something new, and it was worth it to me to take that risk, and it was great. I loved it.
Okay, well, wow. Okay, so from there, so you start over again.
Started over.
Humans are startups, right?
I was the startup.
Right, you are the
Yeah,
startup.
I was the startup.
You're really the startup, and so when we have, especially as a woman in the industry, and you're starting over, but you've been here, and you got to humble yourself. How was that dealing from this point of almost feel like it's greatness, like this is great, it's not going anywhere until, and then going as a
it's so funny. I never thought of it that way until I started over.
Yeah.
Because I always thought of myself as an equal. I still do. I am an equal. But I never saw myself as a woman in the workplace. I always just saw myself as a hard worker. Mm-hmm. And at this agency that I worked for, it was all male partners. And I was supposed to have been promoted after a certain period of time. And I went to my boss and I said, can we sit down and talk? I brought business in, I started a motion picture department, I've done this, I've done that, I've had all these accomplishments. When should I expect my promotion? And he very frankly told me that they weren't comfortable with a woman being part of that group. And he said, you can sue us, but this is just the reality. It's not going to help you. You can sue us and be out of a job and have a little money, or you can move on to something better. So the next day I called a friend and I said, I'm looking for a new job. And he happened to be representing Eric LaSalle, who at the time was Dr. Benton on ER. Eric is amazing and has very high standards of what he wants out of the people that he works with. And my friend knew that I was completely anally retentive and a really hard worker. And he said, I think you guys would totally hit it off. So I sat down with Eric, met him within an hour. He's like, you're hired, and I was gone the next week. But it was an important lesson for me because I never saw myself as different until that moment. And I realized that I had to work differently. Yeah, I always worked hard. That's never changed. But I have to speak up for myself more. I have to, just say, this is what I bring to the table, instead of being so head down and don't look at me. Yeah. It's different. Yeah.
So I know, obviously you're saying it did change your demeanor and this and that. Did you feel a little more bitter towards this?
No, it was a lesson. It was a good lesson.
It was a good lesson.
Yeah, no, it was a good lesson.
So what'd you say when you, you worked with LaSalle, right? I'm trying not to get stuck on, you worked with LaSalle. And where was the point where you started to work with Meltdown?
So Eric and I had our company for a little over 5 years, and we sold a lot of TV pilots. We did a lot. And then the downturn happened in 2008. And in 2009, he decided he only wanted to direct and write. And I really wanted to do something new. I had been writing and producing, and I was ready for another challenge. So we closed the company, and I have a friend here actually from this part of my journey. I started interviewing for jobs at agencies and management companies, and I thought I'll go back to the representation business. I'm good at it. I know it. I like it. I don't have to be writing all the time. I love writing, but you get burnt out after a while. Right. And it was hard. I was coming in with no clients in an economic downturn when agencies were merging. They were merging. Right. So there were a lot of agents and managers without jobs, and I really had to make a decision. Being a woman, do I want to have another baby, or do I want a job? Right. And I had to actually consciously make that decision, and I decided I wanted a baby. And I felt like I was old enough that it was really now or never. Yeah. It would be my second child, and you can't, in the entertainment industry, it's extremely difficult to interview for jobs when you're pregnant. there's just an inherent bias. I'm sure that's true in any industry. There just is, and it's just a fact. Whether it's right or wrong, it's okay. They know, you're going to be gone for a few months. It's just a fact. So again, not bitter. I thought, well, I have to do something. I've got to earn some money. So I thought, well, I have a law degree. What can I do with that I'm good at? And as a producer, all you do all day is put out fires.
We were just talking about that.
That's all you do,
right?
You bring people together. You make them get along when they don't get along. You make things work. That's all you do. So I thought, well, how does that translate into law? And there's a part of the law, and you don't have to be a lawyer to do it, but to be a mediator, that's what you do. You put out people's fires, you help them get along, you solve problems. And I thought, well, I can do that. So I went to Pepperdine and I got my little mediation certificate and felt very educated, and I signed up with the LA Superior Court, and I volunteered, and I did pro bono work for 2 years, and I heard 250 cases, and I did a lot of car wrecks and people whose ankles were broken because their neighbor was a bad person.
Your kids are watching.
Was an average character. I was working for myself. It was another startup. I started a mediation firm, and I was successful at it. I was very good at it, and built a practice, and was able to have a baby and have my own schedule, and it was great. Yeah. But it wasn't as fun as being on the studio, writing and filming. But it was good. It was a different lifestyle.
So, as maybe a lot of people don't know, I'm not sure if people mentioned, but you're a ghostwriter.
I am a ghostwriter.
A ghostwriter. So. Exactly.
That's not what that means.
I know exactly. So explain what a ghostwriter is, and how did you get into that?
So, people pay me to write for them, and they put their name on it.
There you go.
That's
a job, kids.
You can do that for a living. Yeah. And in fact, my contract at Humble Journey was that. Like anything I wrote, Eric put his name on, and that was our agreement, and it was good. And we worked very, very well together that way. I sold several projects. I had 9 TV pilots. Some of them I worked on very heavily and wrote. One of which I created. It wasn't the way my contract read said, thank you very much, we're going to put our name on that, and that was fine.
Right.
And it's a good business. So when I was doing mediation and I had some downtime, I have clients who hire me to write articles or scripts or, I don't know, whatever they need.
Yeah.
I've written websites for insurance companies. I was published in Kiplinger's last week. Nobody would ever know. My name was not on the article. But yeah, it's just another way to earn money. I'm a money earner. I'm a doer.
Cha-ching! Over there.
The secret is I just like to work in my pajamas. So any way I can figure out how to do that, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, well, that's great because it is important that people have understanding that there's all these other behind the scene jobs that no one ever talks about, and the greatest show that you've ever watched is written by someone totally not who you thought it was.
Well, and it's written by a team. I mean, writing. A lot of writers, it's a very solitary process, but especially when you work in TV, it's collaborative. Mm-hmm. And between the studio execs, the physical producers, the actors, and the writers, I mean, it's all of you writing that script. And you may be the one typing it in, but you're getting the notes and having to execute that. Right. And that's what it's really about.
Right. And the reason why I bring up the whole writing thing is not because you are an executive head of acquisitions for Legion M. Yeah. Right? So you're now on the other side telling people what you want to see. And so it's like, because everybody has this idea, it's like, oh, you're executive, you just come from, someone's womb, and you just already born an executive. I'm
like, I'm wearing my suit jacket. So I feel like I've done it all. So in mediation, I ended up concentrating in entertainment. So I did entertainment mediation. So I did credit dispute, like writers who were like, I was supposed to get that credit. No, I was. That's what I dealt with. Through that, I opened my own entertainment law practice, and I started representing writers for their acquisitions. So when people came to them and said, we want to make your TV show, I would do that deal. That was me. You asked how I got to Meltdown.
Correct.
So I'll loop back around to that. I did a mediation. Meltdown, I think I can talk about this. Meltdown sponsors a film festival, and they were doing this. I actually can't talk about it now that I think about it.
You can? Are you sure?
A little bit. They were doing a special event at a film festival, along with a lot of other people, and the original director of the film, which was 25 or 30 years old, was unhappy with what they were doing. And they called me, they knew me because I speak at Comic-Con every year in San Diego. I'm a speaker. And they called me and said, hey, you're the comic book person, can you help us out? And I fixed it. At 7:30 at night on a Saturday, right before the movie was going to show in front of a live audience of 800 people. And they were very, very grateful. And then I said, did you think about doing this with the director? And it made them a potential lot of money. And they thought, wow, you think outside the box. Why don't you come work with us? And so that's how I ended up at Meltdown. And I met Paul and Jeff, who are the co-founders of Legion M, for other reasons. Legion M did not exist at the time. Right. And consulted with Jeff in particular on some things. And before Legion M ever existed. And then I left Meltdown, and then Legion M was formed 2 months later, and there I was. It was perfect timing. Right. I planned it all that way.
I know, right? Your master plan. So
very rambling.
So, well, no, it's great. So you're COO of Meltdown, right? Meltdown becomes this flourishing, comic book but entertainment center of Hollywood.
So it's always been an entertainment center of Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Most people don't. I had nothing to do with that. I would like to take credit, but that's when I can take credit. My challenge at Meltdown when I came in was, how do we last for 100 years? Because it's a mom and pop comic book store, and that's a challenge. The store had been around for almost 20 years already, but new technology is making comic books, not as popular as they used to be. Which isn't if you look at the statistics, comic books are doing better than any other print media because they're still collectible. People like to collect them. But there's still issues. The raising rent and how do you get people to come to the store and things like that. And my challenge was to come in and reorganize the organization, figure out how to structure it where they can be successful in the long term and be prepared for investment and for opportunity. And one of the great things about Meltdown is the CEO, whose name is Gaston, and an advisor of Legion M,
Hi, Gaston.
who we love, says yes to everyone. So when Chris Hardwick came in and said, hey, are you doing anything in that back space? Can I do my stand-up comedy show there? Gaston was like, yeah, sure, whatever. That turned into Nerdist. Yeah. And Chris Hardwick is now this huge guy. Well, Meltdown incubated Nerdist, and most people don't know that. And I thought, well, that's crazy. Meltdown got nothing out of that. And, Legendary came in and bought Nerdist, and they were doing very well. So I changed that, and I created a tech incubator at Meltdown, and we brought in several companies, and they now have MeltdownTV, which is a podcasting network, which I co-founded, and we have XSN. I say we, I'm not there anymore, but I'm still part of it. XSN, which is a home shopping network for cool stuff and millennials, and it's doing really well. Yeah, it's exciting.
So Paul and Jeff, they reel you in, right? And you're looking at these guys that you just,
They tricked me.
So it's like, how did that relationship become established where you're like, I trust these guys?
I think it was love at first sight.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Sometimes you meet people, sometimes you meet people and you just know. Yeah. These are good people. Yeah. And I met Jeff first, and he came in to consult about buying the Batmobile. Right, so you're COO at Meltdown. Who else are you going to ask about that, right? It's
right, exactly, right. Can we buy the Batmobile?
No.
You sure?
It's not a good idea.
Okay, I'm just saying. There's a few of them.
It was actually a really interesting business plan. But,
okay.
So we kind of became friendly and just started talking, and I just love them, and they're both dads, and it's a family first, and they work really hard, and they put their money where their mouths are, and they're all about inclusiveness and everybody's nice to everyone and respects everyone, and there's no bad idea. That's kind of, being a Midwestern girl, that's kind of the philosophy that I come into the door with. You don't often find that in business, especially in a big city, and it's refreshing. And I actually, after I left Meltdown, and I called Jeff and I said, I've left Meltdown, I'm starting a consulting company. I have a VR business-to-business idea I'm going to start working on, and if you need anything, let me know. And he said, well, as a matter of fact, let me pick your brain about something. And that's how, he already knew that he was going to start Legion M, but that's how I became involved.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think because you mentioned it is a family first organization. Yeah. Right. That's the love for the place, right?
Yeah.
And
awesome.
And does that help? Is the family values help create that ecosystem that goes, this is going to be broader. The company itself is going to be broader because of those family values.
Yeah, I mean, we're a small company right now. There are 5 full-time employees. It's tiny, and we have other advisors and things. But my kid is in a school play. In the middle of the afternoon, I'm going to go to the school play, but you bet I'm going to be working at midnight. Right.
Right.
And that's the trade-off, and it's amazing. And I think every company should be like that. And I know it's just not possible when you scale up.
Right.
But the ones that can figure out how to allow flex time for their employees, for mothers and fathers, and grandparents, for that matter, I think are really poised for success in the long term, because people will want to work there, and they'll want to work harder to make up for the fact that they had the time, that they were given this gift that a lot of people don't get. So, yeah.
Okay, so now let's explain people about Legion M specifically. Just your version of it. What's your version? I was hearing Paul and Jeff's version, but I want to hear your version of Legion M, the company, and where it's going to go to in the next 100 years.
Okay. Oh my God, the next 100. So to me, Legion M is about community, and Legion M is about offering an outlet to people who have doors slammed in their faces every day, right? So it doesn't mean that anybody who invests in Legion M is going to get their screenplay made by us, because that's not our business model, right? But it means if they have an opinion, we want to hear it. If they believe we should be doing something differently, we want to know that. And what Legion M is, it's a fan-owned entertainment company. So the fans, and we're doing our fundraising through the Jobs Act, which is a new law that went into effect over the past year. We're about to launch our Regulation A fundraise, where we can raise up to $50 million a year. Although I will preface that by saying our goal is not $50 million. I think if we raised a fraction of that, it would be a huge success. No company under Reg A has ever raised $50 million. So we'll let that be a challenge to all of us members in Legion M. But the company is about opening the gates to Hollywood in a way where the fans have a voice, and the fans can participate and be part of something. And to me, fan engagement and community and being part of something is amazing, and it's exciting. And when you put out a call and say, hey, we're all going to go to Comic-Con and we need to staff a booth, and you have 30 people who are volunteers, Aaron was one of them. Is that a conflict? I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, not a conflict.
30 people came at their own expense to volunteer in our booth and help us, and people have driven our car, which is a marketing billboard essentially to Comic-Con. To be part of that and to get to know everybody, and it's a privilege. Like, for me, it's such a privilege. So for me, Legion M is about community and family and doing entertainment, producing and distributing entertainment in Hollywood that wouldn't normally get made. Because we're not about sequels and prequels and spin-offs, although maybe someday we will do those. But we're about originality and fresh voices and working with filmmakers who are established but don't necessarily get the chance to have their voice heard. So that's a very different elevator pitch of Legion M than you usually hear from Jeff and Paul. But the nutshell is Legion M is the world's first fan-owned entertainment company. And the goal is to make, produce, and distribute entertainment content that the fans want to see and that the fans can participate in, not necessarily by writing the script or directing it, but by, voting on which costumes someone's going to wear, or attending StartUp Grind, seeing someone get interviewed, or participating in, we have these shindigs where our talent gets interviewed, and it's interactive, so you can actually talk to the talent, or go to Comic-Con and be part of it
and make it work.
Yeah. So it's to me, it's about community.
That's great.
Yeah.
So okay, so you have this great ups and downs, and I love when you get a chance to listen to the people's story of the mountains that they've walked, and the hills that they and the valleys that they stunk into. So as you're moving forward now, it's 1 year. Like Legion M is officially 1 year old.
1 year, 2 days.
1 year, 2 days.
Yeah.
Right. 2 days. Right. And it's about to go into another raise.
Yeah.
Right. So now that you're part of Legion M, how many people are like just throwing scripts at you? Right.
So this is a huge challenge.
Right.
Right. So you start an entertainment company, and the first thing people say is, "Oh, can I send you my script?" Right. And my instinct is to say, "Absolutely, I'd love to read your script," which is true. I would love to read their script.
Right.
We have a submission sign-up list. I don't know how many people are on it now.
Now.
But as of 6
Right.
months ago, it was 1,300 requests
Right,
to
I
read
remember.
a script, and some of those requests had 3, 4, 5 scripts attached to that. So several thousand scripts potentially.
Right.
It takes 2 hours to read every script. There are only 2 of us reading scripts. If we worked 24/7 for 2 years, we still wouldn't get through all of that. And it's very frustrating. So we're not able to take submissions right now until we figure out how to do that. My goal is to let the Legion be the reader. Like, in the scripts that are good will bubble up to the top,
Right.
and eventually get to me. But we just don't have the capacity to do it yet. So instead, we did this great competition called Pitch Elevator.
Right.
At Stanley's Los Angeles Comic-Con. So anybody who had a script idea, who knew we weren't able to read their scripts, but they could come pitch their idea.
Right.
And then we had a competition, and that's being voted on now. So some are bubbling to the top as being really amazing, and that's exciting to me.
So you and Dave Baxter. No, Dave, we have not forgot about you. We love you.
We love you,
we love you, David. Right? We love you. So is it basically you two reading the scripts? Because he's head of development, you're head of acquisition.
Yeah,
So,
and it's basically, we're basically doing the same job.
Right.
Yeah.
So then what's the difference between the two?
Oh,
I know.
oh,
I just
so
I'm asking for you
technically,
people.
So a development person reads the scripts and works with the writers to develop their scripts into something that can be sold or set up or
Right.
sent to talent. Okay.
Right.
An acquisitions person depends on how the company is positioned. An acquisitions person also reads the scripts but decides yes or no, we're going to do that script, and then does the deal. Hence the legal background. Or an acquisitions person goes to all the festivals and watches every single movie and says, that's the one. Let's bring that one in. But in reality, we're such a small company, we all do a little bit of everything. The 2 people who read the scripts, Damien's here, he reads 2 now. But it really has been David and I since the very beginning.
Yeah.
And we have other obligations to the company.
Yeah.
Because we're not in a position to finance a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So to read 1,300 scripts doesn't do anyone any good, because we're not in a position to say, that's the one we want. Oh, by the way, the budget's $4 million. Right now we can't.
Right. No, Right.
So, but eventually.
Well, so
Hopefully,
let's go
someday.
There's a movie that Legion M is doing with Anne Hathaway
Yeah.
and John.
Jason Sudeikis.
There's Jason Sudeikis, right?
He's a cutie.
I don't.
Yeah, no.
I know he plays Zorn, don't he? And anyway, so I love that shit. It's hilarious. So how I know Paul and Jeff went to what was it, Fight Fest?
They went to Fantastic Fest.
Fantastic
in
Fest,
Austin.
right? And
which is sponsored by Alamo Draft House.
Correct.
And Tim League and Alamo Draft House are advisors
Right.
of Legion M. They're amazing. If you guys ever have a chance to go to an Alamo Draft House and see a movie, it's the place to go. No cell phones, no talking, no texting. It's a good experience. But they're super smart, and Tim Lee started a new distribution company with Tom Quinn, and it's called Neon. And they went to TIFF last year, which is Toronto International Film Festival, and we called them and said, hey, you see something that seems up our alley, keep us in mind. Right. And they called back.
It was like you're not expecting them to call back.
Who calls back? And they said, we saw a movie that we think would be perfect for you. And that was Colossal. Wow. Yeah.
So did you have to were you the one they bring it to, Mom, would you look
at
this? Or
no,
was
total opposite. We're like, please let us be involved in this movie, sir. Yeah, no, but the thing about Legion M is we have a unique opportunity because we're a unique company. Not only eventually will we come with financing to be able to help market and produce and distribute these films, we're also coming with a built-in audience and a very highly engaged built-in audience who has invested money and has a vested interest to see the company do well. And that's what makes this company unique. The whole business plan revolves around our shareholders. Our value is derived from our shareholders and their engagement. And our entire goal as executives in the company is to make sure that our shareholders are happy and having a good time. And so when a movie like Colossal, who doesn't need they don't need our money. I mean, it's a huge movie, comes to us. We're coming with the fans, right? So opening weekend.
The Legion of Fans.
The Legion of Fans.
Right,
so opening weekend, it's really important to have a high per screen average because it's going to be a platform release. Legion M can blow that out. Like we can say, okay, we got LA and New York covered. We have sold out, these 8 screenings over the weekend, and it's awesome. And that is something that studios can't pay for, and we bring it to the table, and all of our shareholders participate in that. And in success, our stock price will go up, and it's we all boats rise together.
So what movies would you you just say no? We're just not doing it.
We had one recently.
Damien's like, yes.
I can't talk about it.
Not specifically about it, but kind of, you can kind of give us some edges.
Yeah, it's not a finished movie.
Yeah.
It came to us in a very, very, very attractive package, and I just don't like it. I don't like the script. It's my personal taste. Yeah. It's not for me. I know a lot of people would read it and say I love it, but I don't like it. So.
Yeah. Was it character development?
It was all. It
was just trash.
It's not trash. It's subjective, right?
Okay, I get you.
It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, we get things like that all the time, and we have arguments internally.
Yeah.
My counterpart loved it.
Yeah.
And I didn't. So.
Well, I guess if you're a writer, there's going to be writers out there. There are writers out there, and they want to know what you get in your brain and go, what doesn't she like?
So for me,
right.
So if you are a writer and you want to know the secret to success, story and character are the secret to success. It's not rocket science, right? Have a good story with amazing characters where they go somewhere, and they, not like physically necessarily, but emotionally, they take a journey and they bring you along with it. And Finding Nemo is one of my favorite examples because his dad, experiences this huge loss, and he, comes out of his shell and gets to go on this amazing adventure and learn something along the way to let his child, kind of blossom on his own. That's a great story and great characters. And a lot of screenwriters sometimes favor story over character or favor character over story. You have to have both. And it has to be well realized and not pat and not pedestrian and good dialogue. Yeah.
So what we're going to hold a question and answer right now, because this is when the real fireworks happen. See?
There might be too many people here.
I know, right? Just change your voices when you ask your question, please. So let's. Is there anyone who have any questions? Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's John Magnos. I'm an investor in Legion, and I came out here because I felt hyped. Part of me being so fashionably late.
LA traffic.
But I wanted to come out here and introduce myself. I'm John Magnos. I invested in Legion because I believed in what the company was doing, and I saw it had a very different and innovative angle at things, for film and scripts. I myself am a musician in a band called Rift, and my question to you is, have you considered licensing music in film?
So if someone didn't hear that, I don't know if, would that pick it up? Okay, so the question was, has Legion M considered licensing music in film yet?
Right.
We would have to have a film that we're actually in post-production on to do that, but yeah, absolutely. So for Pitch Elevator, I'll give you a great example. For Pitch Elevator, which was a homegrown project that we did at Comic-Con, we wanted elevator music in our elevator before we realized that it would prevent us from hearing people's pitches. Thank you, Damien. And one of our Legion members made elevator music for us. And it was Indiana Jones. Was that you? Is that you?
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it was Indiana Jones. It was amazing. Like, we put it out to the Legion. We said, hey, this is our opportunity.
Yeah.
Can anybody satisfy this? Solve the problem. And the Legion answered, and it was amazing. And we've been on panels, and we've shown his music, and we've been in meetings, and we've played his music. And yes, absolutely, 100%.
Great to hear. No, I love what Legion M is about. I love how much you guys support your pace and the angle that you're doing it, because I don't see any other studio doing it that way. All the major film studios out there, I'm sure as most of you well know, they don't function like this. So I think it's innovative. I think it's way ahead of the curve. And you hit the nail on the head way earlier on. I mean, Legion M has an engaged fan base online that is just, it's ridiculous now.
So speaking of what he was saying that's awesome, great. About being innovative in this industry, right? Was there a great opening of arms like, welcome Legion M and Terry, and or was it like, hey, don't worry? What was that?
It's really surprising. Jeff and Paul and I have all had our own startups, and Jeff and Paul much more successfully than me. Although I would say my law firm was a startup and that was successful.
There you go. See.
And Meltdown was a huge success.
Yes.
So what I have found, with Meltdown, we were a tech incubator. We had several companies, and we would go out and pitch, and people always had a lot of specific questions, and a lot of their job is to poke holes in your business plan. With Legion M, we go out and pitch. Nobody's poking holes in our business plan.
Really?
People are saying, "Oh my God, why didn't I think of that?"
Yeah.
And I've never experienced that ever,
Yeah.
and it's amazing to me. And I really, we weren't sure this. We felt that it would work, but when we launched our first round in May, we thought, okay, this will be the proof in the pudding. It's either going to work or not work. And we had very high expectations, but you just never know. And the way the round went, I mean, we oversold by $400,000.
Right.
We had to shift people out of the round into a new round. We had to give people their money back because the SEC was like, no more.
No more money.
I mean, that's a high class problem.
SEC, which is a bank, says we don't need any more money.
Well, they're government agents.
I know, but that's what I'm
not happening. It's amazing, but to me, what really says that we're onto something is we've had meetings at studios. We had a meeting with a producing team who have 100 movies under their belt, like billions of dollars in box office. And Paul and I had a meeting with them a few weeks ago, and we explained what Legion M was, and they said, that's great, do you want to invest in our next movie? And it was a huge title. And we're like, well, we don't have that much money. And they're like, you don't need to have that much money. We want Legion M because Legion M is amazing and it brings value. And again, what? Like, it's amazing. So I feel like we've hit on something.
Yeah.
And I think, especially in this day and age, people want to be part of something and they want to get behind a cause and a community. I really feel it's a movement in a positive way, a movement of making great entertainment.
So
They love it.
So the next question is,
Yes.
when this concept was brought
By the way,
up,
I'm really
Is it really
I'm really turned down, Spire. Sorry.
and it's not a wig, so it's not gonna go up. The hot seat. So when this concept was brought up to, let's bring Stan Lee into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What happened with that? How did he even how that even become?
Well, so David Baxter, who's our development executive, knew Stan from a long time ago. He and Stan have known each other, and he knows Stan's manager very well. And we sat down with his manager and told him what we were doing. And Stan agreed to be interviewed by the LA Times because he was going to be part of our Icons project. So we have a virtual reality project. It's a virtual reality interview series. It's a time capsule. And we bring in luminaries from our time, and we ask them who they would like to be interviewed by, and then we capture that in virtual reality. And we're doing it in a way that's never been done before. We're not using a Jaunt, we're not using a Google Odyssey. We are using Nodal 3D red cameras, and the amount of resolution you get, it's IMAX quality. I mean, it's future-proofed. It's going to be around. It's higher than IMAX quality. It's going to be around forever. So we went to Stan Lee and pitched it, and he said, well, who's going to say no to that? Yes, of course, I'm going to do it. And we said, great, will you agree to be interviewed by the LA Times about this project? And he said, sure, and the LA Times was talking to him about Legion M. And he said, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was basically, I just wish I had thought of it first. Legion M.
Right.
And to get that kind of quote from the co-creator of Marvel, who's responsible for some of the best movies in the last decade,
Right.
From his characters, is a humongous compliment. And we were blown away. We had no idea what he was going to say, and it was unbelievable.
We have a question out there.
All right. Just thinking about timing, based on what you said with your previous startup, how do you feel about the timing for Legion right now? Clearly something's right if you're having to give money back, but how do you think the industry is going to respond, and how you're going to fit in? It's plugging a hole. And then looking forward, given kind of the direction the industry is going, there's still a lot of question about what platforms are really the ones that fans are going to want to go to. If they're going to watch it on a phone or still on the big screen. How far forward is Legion M looking for that as far as distribution outlets?
So taking the timing question first, I think the timing is perfect. First of all, we couldn't have done it any earlier than last May. It was not legal.
It was illegal.
You were not allowed to do equity crowdfunding. So it's been 80 years since a non-accredited investor could invest in a startup until last May. So timing from that perspective is perfect. Timing from the industry perspective is, the industry, there are so many platforms and there's so much competition for eyeballs. The audiences are segmenting and fracturing at an alarming rate. And so that's why the studios are bringing on franchises and sequels. I mean, Star Wars has a built-in audience that is always going to show up. You can spend $150 or $200 million on a film, and you will make your money back. If you do Arrival, which was an amazing movie and an Oscar nominee, you have no idea if it's going to find its audience. So what the studios are looking for are ways to bring audience engagement to the table. So they create events. So they come to Comic-Con and they do an event, or they go to a film festival and do an event, or they give away hats at every theater when you go in for opening, whatever it is. But those fans are not always highly engaged. They're not going to follow the property from birth to death. What Legion M brings to the table are fans who are not only emotionally invested in a property, but they're also financially invested. If that property does well, they will do well. And we're going to bring them along the ride and give them a great time also. So we're not competitive with the studios. The studios actually want to work with us because we bring something to the table that they need and they don't have. So the timing in that sense is fantastic. Your question about what platforms Legion M is looking at, it's transmedia. It's everything. I have a book that I'm looking at right now that I love, and I think it could be an amazing game. TV show, feature film, virtual reality concept, it's everything. And it could be trading cards, like literally everything. Trading cards. I do the Topps online Star Wars trading card thing. If anybody wants to do it, connect with me. We'll trade some cards. It's you know, for me, Legion M will do projects that we know we can monetize, and we will put projects on the right platform for that project. Yes. Did I answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Could you talk about what it means to invest in the company and how it's not a quick turnaround, you're going to make money off of it right away, that it's more of a long-term investment, and really what it means to invest in the company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in equity crowdfunding, it is an investment. Just like investing in a restaurant or in Apple, you do it for the long term. The people who invested in our first round, like their investments are locked up for a year. The people who invest in the second round, there's probably going to be a secondary market. If you're not happy, you can sell your shares. But we are a startup, and there is risk with that. And we are very careful to tell people this is not a place to invest your retirement money. It's not a place to invest your college fund. You should assume when you're investing in startups that you are most likely going to lose your money. But in success, Snapchat just IPO'd for how many billions of dollars? I mean, in success, we could do really well, but we don't know if we're going to be successful. But I can promise everyone who's making an investment in the company that the people not only just working in the company, you know, the two founders, the two co-founding employees, 3 now, we work 24/7. Like, this is our baby. We're going to make it successful. There's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a huge success. But if you invest in Apple, you're not going to get a free iPhone, right? If you invest in Legion M, you're not going to go to free movies. I see someone in the audience he's walking out. And if you invest in Legion M, it doesn't mean we're going to produce your movie, because our job is to make money for our investors.
And have fun.
We want to, yeah, and have fun. That doesn't mean that we'll never look at people's projects, because we do, and we have ways where we are looking at people's projects. But we like to say, go in with eyes wide open, learn as much as you can, understand that these types of investments are there for the long term. You know, some companies have very robust exit strategies. You know, internally, we have our own vision of how we're going to do things, and I think we're going to be hugely successful. But it is an investment. It's not a lottery ticket.
So.
Question is, so I'm addicted to all these Netflix original series shows. That
Me too.
Are,
oh my God. Yes, I'm watching
no, but one more. It's addicting. Do you see with all of your original content that you might create something like that for Legion M original content, that you would have some sort of a, it's a monthly fee for people to access it as
so our own platform for
own
people
platform.
to access our content?
Like Legion M original content, is that something that?
I think in the short term we'll be selling content to platforms like Netflix. I don't think we'll have our own platform that we'll be distributing on, at least in the short term. You know, every company figures out where they can do the best and make the most money, and maybe someday that will be something we will explore, but I would say we're open-minded to it, but it's not in short-term or even mid-term plans. Yeah. So we would love to sell something to Netflix and binge. If I could have done Stranger Things or The Queen. I'm watching The Queen right now, which is outrageously good. Yes. That'd be amazing. Oh my gosh, thank you guys.
I love your story, your background. One of the things that the interviewer so eloquently stated was, it's a lot of climbing the mountain, right, and climbing up the hill. So it sounds like what you do now is kind of the sum of all of your past experiences all into one. Is there any one particular experience that informs what you're doing now more so than others?
Oh, that's a good question. My time at Humble Journey Films is probably the experience that is informing me the most now. I ran the company, I produced, I wrote, I had a staff that I had to manage. We had a deal at a studio, so we had a budget to manage. I was developing, I was reading submissions, and I was hiring and unfortunately sometimes firing writers, and that's most parallel. It's akin to what I'm doing now, and I'm using all the skills I learned there here, and I feel much more confident doing it now because I've done it before. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Legion M, is it a genre-specific studio?
Oh, that's a good question. So we're doing most of our marketing at Comic-Cons, and because of that, I would say we are leaning towards genre. And genre is defined as sci-fi, fantasy, horror, mystery. How else would we define it?
I think you hit them all.
Yeah,
At this
like
point.
it's mostly genre, right? But it doesn't mean that we wouldn't take on a drama or a really good comedy because we love those. But it would have to fit within our investors' interests. So periodically, we'll poll our investors and say, what are the movies you would most likely, you would most like to see? Our most recent poll said sci-fi. So colossal. Like we listen. You said we listen.
You said it.
And number 2 was, I believe, horror. I have to go back and look if that was number 2.
Yeah.
So our second project is a very, it's a small investment in a micro-budgeted movie called The Field Guide to Evil, which is being done by Tim League and Ant Timpson, and they did the ABCs of Death series, which are really gruesome and awesome. And The Field Guide to Evil is taking 8 proven filmmakers around the world, and they're going to have a budget and some time to film a short film about local lore. And so we'll have one in Hungary, one in Australia, one in the US, one in the UK. It's going to be amazing.
And when you say local lore, just so other people understand what local lore is,
Mm-hmm.
give them a sort of a...
Okay, so in my hometown, there was a shack in the woods that was really creepy, and we thought a homeless person had died there and was now haunting it. And so local lore would be like kids walking through the woods and getting terrorized. It's, like Blair Witch, right? But that was
the local, the
yeah.
urban legend.
So urban legends, local lore.
Yeah.
So one, I don't know what they're doing yet. They're still working on the
It's
script.
still in
It's
development,
still in development. They're going to start shooting, we think, in April. But so to give you an idea, I'm very long-winded. Just cut me off.
David Starr would like to ask, as a documentary filmmaker, what are the plans for Legion M as it relates to documentaries?
By the way, hi, David.
David is a very great documentary filmmaker.
Yeah.
We're open-minded. I don't think we have anything on our slate right now. David has talked about doing a Legion M documentary, and we're completely excited and open to that. And we've been approached a few times with documentaries. It has to make financial sense to us. We can't do things just because we think it's a good idea if we're not going to monetize it in some way, or it doesn't market the company in some way, or help our shareholders in some way.
Okay. One more question from the audience, and if there's another question from the phone. Okay. One more question, and then I have one more question myself.
Oh, okay.
I have a question more on a personal level. That I was thinking about when Jason was asking you about all your background, and you've done so many things, and you've been able to go forward and then decisively take a step back to do so many different things. So it was like you were ready for luck when it happened to seize it, but you're doing so many things with this incredibly vivacious personality. How do you fit everything in? Like, how do you organize it? How do you find the energy? What is the secret to your success to have a family and be able to do all these things?
I have literally the best husband in the world who works, he works too. He works full time. He's a therapist at the Health Group, which is a school for autistic children and learning disabled children, and he is amazing. And he takes a lot on. A lot. And my kids help. And I have a nanny whose name is Sarah. I won't give her last name. Who is an actress who is amazing. If anybody is looking for a beautiful redhead, not me. I have an amazing support group.
Yeah.
You can't do it without a man or a woman.
I have to say that she's probably one of the most fortunate person from the team she works with the crowd of investors that she deals with, because she could have this horrible crowd of investors. You really could have been one VC just telling you guys all what to do. Right? And then the home life. I mean, that's it. So it helps. It is. So I have one very, very important question. I mean, it's a groundbreaking question.
Chocolate peanut butter.
Okay, so, and I'm serious about this.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
you got to really think hard about
All
this.
right.
No, this. Okay, so, oh yeah, prepare. Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
And why?
You know, it's not that I like the comic books better, because I actually like the DC books better.
Mm-hmm.
It's that the movies are so darn good. And as a company, they've been so smart to have a war room and to plan it out and figure out how they were going to deal with this universe from beginning to end. And to me, when you want to run a successful company, you have to do that.
Yeah.
And I so respect that. I love it.
So that's something you think you guys are adapting?
Yeah, absolutely. We plan, we talk about it. We're like, where are we going to be in a year? Where are we going to be in 5 years? What if this happens? What if that happens? We're ready for it. I love it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Terri.
Yay.
I am glad to see you. So anyway, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you were able to be here, and it's Women's History Month.
Yes.
So to me, you're creating history with this whole new way of doing entertainment. I mean, you're a woman and you're creating history. Well, it was so funny because my wife didn't remind me. She's like, it's Women's History. I was like, really? Awesome!
Accident.
Exactly. I was like, that's great. So anyway, and like I said, she's a jewel, and she's one of the ones I just wanted to pick out the sky, and she was able to fall into this chair tonight. And everyone who are here today, thank you for making it. Everyone from the Legion, hey.
And Startup Grind.
And Startup Grind. This is wonderful, and I don't know how to end it other than thank you so much.
Thank you.